What's up, Zach here, and I didn't think I'd have to make this video this quick again, but we've had so many new tennis and pickleball shoes come out in just the last few months that honestly the winter guide just really no longer holds true. It's a completely different list. So this is the ultimate tennis and pickleball shoe buyer's guide for summer 2025. Hopefully it holds up into fall. Let's get started with the first category. You know what it is, foot type. So if you're someone with a wide foot or bunion, make sure you're not getting a shoe with a hard piece of plastic in the forefoot. I just reviewed the New Balance Coco Del Rey, which they were super wide. Mine, that I heard a bunch of people that they were narrow with theirs. There might be some inconsistencies there, but the good old New Balance 996 and pretty much all your New Balance shoes that come in a 2E and a 4E width, or if you're a female going to the D width, those are just always a great choice. The Diadora Blue Shield Torneo 3 is one of my favorite picks, as well as the K-Swiss Ultra Shot 4. And speaking of New Balance, if you are somebody with a more narrow foot, if you're a male, and speaking of those New Balances, if you're somebody with a more narrow foot, you want to go with something more narrow lasted. So if you're a male, want to go to the female sizing of a shoe or the female last of the shoe, that'll get you a little bit more of a narrow last while not sacrificing length of the shoe, which is really nice. Something like the Coco CG2 is great. The Adidas Cybersonic 2, although it's a pretty medium shoe, it will lock down a more narrow foot well, as well as with something like the Lacoste AGLT 23 Ultra. Or is it Agility? I don't know if it's AGLT or if it's Agility. No one can give me a straight answer. If you have a straight answer, put it in the comments down below. And if you're just a medium width foot or true width feet, really keep saying this, the world is your oyster, really. The best shoes out there are just going to be the best for you. You can always try to go up a half size on the most narrow fitting shoes or down a half size on the most wide fitting shoes, or pretty much go true to size on anything right down the pipe. And if you're somebody with a high arch foot, remember you need support rear foot and forefoot because those are the contact points coming down. Remember, you're not getting a lot of surface area that is hitting that shoe. Anything with Blue Shield in it is going to be really good. I also liked the K-Swiss Ultra Shot 4. Just remember, you don't want something with a more shallow toe box, something that doesn't have a lot of room from the ground up. So you want to avoid something maybe like the K-Swiss Hypercourt Pinnacle. If you're somebody with a flat arch, I've been saying this for like 3-4 years, a lot of the best shoes for higher arch people are also good for flat-footed people. You want to make sure you have something that has enough support on the medial side of the shoe, something that does not have a lot of wobbling in the rear foot, and something that can also hold an orthotic. Once again, the Diadora Blue Shield Torneo 3, one of my favorite for that. And another sneaky good pick for that is the Nike GP Challenge Pro with the wider medial flange on the heel. That with an orthotic in it also does really, really well. Now, if you're someone that wears bulky orthotics or braces, unfortunately, the new Mizuno Wave & Force Tour 2 does not have the double ankle collar, so you don't have like the super easy pick anymore, but really anything that comes with a runner's knot that has maybe a little bit of a higher collar is going to give you a nice lockdown. Just make sure you get something with sufficient amount of padding to lock you in the shoe as well as enough room in the shoe. If you're someone that's playing multiple matches, multiple practices in a day, you're doing 2-a-days, you're in a training block, you're going to want something with a little bit more resilient foam. You don't want something crazy heavy that has a crazy amount of shock absorbing foam that doesn't give you anything back. You also don't want something that doesn't really have any shock absorption. So you really need something that it really kind of is in that middle ground where it's not too heavy, but it's giving you a little bit of something in return. And if you're looking for a shoe that's more of a barefoot style or more of a zero drop shoe, the Zero X1 right now is doing really, really well, especially in the basketball space. It's also, I've seen tennis players use it, and it honestly, I think, is a better tennis and pickleball shoe than it is a basketball shoe. So I think that Zero X1 right now, if you're looking for barefoot style shoe, is really alone in the market. You know, the Uncivilized sneaker is also really good. The rubber on it's really good. It doesn't have the containment of the Zero X1. It is more comfortable though than the Zero X1. So I think I should say those two to me are kind of alone in the market. If you want more of a zero drop, there also is the Diadem products out there. And those are, they have a little bit more foam stacking, maybe a little more of the anatomic toe box. So if you're looking for minimalist, you're going to Zero or Uncivilized. If you're looking for just the anatomic type toe box, then to me, Diadem is also a good pickup. All right, that brings me right into number 2, which is game style. And the first one on this list is serve and volley. So if you're someone that likes to get from the baseline to the net as quick as humanly possible, something like the K-Swiss Hypercourt Pinnacle, not a bad choice. That super long carbon fiber shank. Also something that's really nice kind of for that little more buttery type movement up at the net, getting a little bit lower, to have a little more freedom of movement, is the Diadora B Elite. Those things feel fantastic up at net. They don't have the launch maybe of something like the B Icon 3, which is another great one for serving volleyers, but it does have a little bit more of that just nice feel up at net, so it kind of just depends. You know, do you want something that's going to get you to net faster, or do you want something that's going to feel a little bit more flexible and buttery up at net? Now, if you're someone that's a hardcourt slider, you still can't go wrong with the Vapor Pro line, even though I think they're not the best for some other issues, but the rubber is hard enough, and it's in a configuration that slides really, really well. The Onyx Eclipsean 5 is also a really great shoe. I mean, here's the thing, with how people are sliding and with how gritty the courts are now, it's hard to get a shoe to last really long no matter what you do. And I've seen companies make shoes with really, really hard rubber for sliding, but then it makes the shoe slide all the time. You're not getting a lot of traction on that shoe. So you really do have to make, you know, you got to think, if the rubber is so hard that I can't push off on it, does it matter if I can slide? So, like I said, as long as the courts are still as gritty as they are now, and they're making them grittier and grittier, and they're trying to slow the ball down more and more for whatever reason, you're going to have some issues with durability. There's really no way to get around it. But the shoes on this list are what I've found to be the most durable and the most protective. Now, if you're someone that plays a big serve plus one game, you need something that's going to get you up into the air, but also allow a nice stable base to get that next big shot. Once again, the case was Hypercourt Pinnacle. I don't think there's maybe a better shoe ever for that. And the Diadora Blue Shield 2003, also a very good pickup. Really anything that is nice and stable in that rear foot that also has a little bit of pop. If you're someone that's grinding it out of the baseline, need a ton of speed back there, yeah, I mean, shoes are just being made heavier nowadays. It's just what, you know, honestly, people are telling companies they want more cushion, they want more durability, so the shoes got to get a little heavier. However, there are some shoes out there that kind of get right in that mix. The B Icon 3 to me is one of the better ones. That, once again, the case was Hypercourt Pinnacle, another one that just has unreal speed on the baseline but doesn't feel like a brick. If you're going more toward the minimalist category in terms of minimalist weight, not stack, you know, the ASICS Solution Speed FF3, the ASICS Court FF3 are great pickups for that, as well as, you know, the Lacoste AGLT 23 Ultra, the Babolat Jet Mach, as well as one of my personal favorites, the Adidas Cybersonic 2. And if all you're looking for is speed, you don't care in what direction it goes, broken record, but case was Hypercourt Pinnacle, Adidas Cybersonic 2, Lacoste AGLT 23 Ultra. Those are all shoes with a lot of pickup, as well as Babolat Jet Mach 3. Now, if you're looking for a flexible shoe for creativity, getting yourself out of weird positions or getting yourself into weird positions, once again, Diadora B Elite, that shoe contorts really, really well. Once again, the Adidas Cybersonic 2. I got so many shoes flying through my head right now. There's so many shoes that come out. The Selkirk Court Strike Pro, also a really good shoe. That's also a great shoe for speed. All those shoes are just very, very nimble shoes and kind of get you in and out of positions very, very easily. If you're looking for a shoe for multiple surfaces, honestly, it's tough because a lot of companies are making herringbone shoes, but they're so flat under the ball of the foot, under the medial side, big toe, that they're going to slide on clay like crazy. They'll be like ice skates. So you want something that the all-court tread version has some form of a little bit more chunkiness to it, a little more chunky herringbone. Honestly, the Vapor Pro 3 in the clay version is actually a really good hardcourt shoe. So, you know, in terms of tread wear. So that's all right. The Onyx Eclipsean 5 clay is good. The Diadora Blue Shield 2003 clay. The Adidas Barricade 13 is also good just in its all-court tread. It's tough. You got to find, like I said, find something that has a little more of a chunky tread in its all-court version, and that'll be doing the best on clay. Just watch out for more of those flat tread patterns. So in terms of one of the best shoes for doubles in pickleball, you know, a lot of times they occupy some of the same space just in doubles. A lot of times you're having to traverse more north to south, right, to get to the net. But a lot of the same shoes apply. The Lacoste AGLT 23 Ultra, the Babolat Jet Mach 3, as well as the Selkirk Court Strike Pro, all do very well for both. And if all you care about is durability, which shoe is going to last you the absolute longest, remember, a lot of the same shoes for hard court sliding are going to be the same ones, but with a caveat that you also want the midsole and the uppers to last a long time as well. So make sure you're getting a shoe with some form of shank, top-loaded better than bottom-loaded for durability, and a foam that is a little bit more of a medium density. That way it can hold up over the lifetime of jumping over and over and over again for serves. Such a long video. All right, but let's get into my wheelhouse, third category, foot type, injuries, and chronic conditions. And remember, this guide is all about getting the shoes that are going to fit your foot the best and be the most, one-to-one with your particular needs. The problem is that none of these shoes are custom to you versus the pros you've seen with my Rafa Nadal video. As you see in my Rafa Nadal custom shoe teardown, my Serena Williams custom shoe teardown, they are getting custom elements put in their shoes to fit their specific games. Now, if you want to be able to do that at home with very inexpensive materials and be able to customize the shoe to make it as one-to-one for your foot and game as possible, you'll want to check out my brand new ebook all about shoe and orthotic customization as well as lower leg taping. It is full of tips and tricks. It is basically a brain dump of mine over the last, oh my God, I've been over 10 years doing this now, of all the customizations that I have put in people's shoes over the years to get them the most custom fit, the most custom performance possible. It has everything from making your own shoe last all the way up to changing the heel to toe drop of the shoe. So if you want to check that out, I'll leave that link in the description below to get your shoe as custom as humanly possible to your own shoe. So like the pros, you can have something that is truly one of one. Now, here's someone that's a chronic ankle sprainer or just doesn't want to sprain your ankle. Make sure you're looking for something, number one, pretty stable midsole. You don't want something too squishy, as well as something with a pretty stout lateral flange. Once again, it's been years. This Babolat Jet Mach line is fantastic for this, as well as is, say it again, the Diadora Blue Shield Torneo 3 K-Swiss Ultra Shot 4, all shoes that, number one, have dense enough foam and a decent enough shank setup, but also enough on that lateral side to keep you stable. And in terms of arch strain, arch pain, tendinitis, PT, TD, flat foot, things like that, painful flat foot, really the same as the best shoes for flat-footed players. Remember, you want something preferably top-loaded shank, medium density foam, something that's going to hold up that arch as well as sit on the ground, not too everted, not allow a lot of pummeling through the inside of that shoe. And in terms of best shoes for ball of foot pain, a lot of those the same as the best shoes for high arch feet, because same thing, a lot of people with high arch feet have ball of foot pain. People with flat feet have ball of foot pain too, but just want to make sure in the forefoot, number one, you have enough room in the forefoot. Unless you're a narrow foot, then you don't care. But also something, number one, not too squishy that you're going to push through, but not something rock hard either that you're going to just feel like you're pounding the ground. And if you're someone that suffers from shin splints, these are tough because you want a shoe with enough shock absorption, but not too heavy that the tibialis anterior, which is the muscle that decelerates your foot, also lifts foot up off the ground, lifts the foot in terms of dorsiflexion, isn't getting too strained, and which leads to shin splints. So you want something, once again, in that kind of medium category in terms of weight, but also with lively enough foam that it's going to give you a little bit of assist, but not something that's going to allow too much shock up your legs. Shin splints are tough. I've said that in pretty much every ultimate tennis shoe guide. Shin splints are tough, and orthotics can go a long way with that as well. So this category maybe should be like, what are the best orthotics for shin splints? And in terms of that, it's something, once again, medium density with a little bit of flex, something like a Power Step Pinnacle, Power Step Bridge. And the best shoes for knee, hip, back pain really are the best shoes for shock absorption. To me, the Diadora Blue Shield Torneo 3, the Diadora B Icon 3 are both unreal shoes for that. The New Balance Fresh Foam CT Rally, anything with that Fresh Foam X in it is out of this world for this because it absorbs so much shock, but it's not super bottom heavy. So really in those situations, you got to look at the foam setup as well as the shank setup. And in terms of recovery footwear, remember you want to avoid things that are super squishy, that although, yeah, they feel comfortable underfoot, are also making your tendons work extra hard just to keep you stable. So if you're looking for a shoe, I think the B Elites are fantastic as well as the Coco Del Reys. If you're looking for a sandal, the Xenon Zen Slide, which is my collab with Xenon, is also a fantastic pickup because it keeps you super stable, as well as has that super lively TPEE foam in there. And if you're looking for more of a slip-on or kind of a clog type, then I would go with the Under Armour Slip Speed. And if you're someone that's a very light player versus someone that's a very heavy player, you're obviously going to be looking at different shoes. Nowadays, like I said, shoes are just getting made heavier. And so, like I said, there are exceptions to that, and that's what's going to show up on more of the light list there. Think things like the AGLT 23 Ultra, the Solution Speed, things like that. things that have a little bit of pop to them, but also things that aren't going to feel a brick if you're someone that doesn't have the commensurate weight and energy to put into them, versus someone that's heavier player that might need a little bit more of a stout setup underfoot so that you're not feeling like you're pummeling through the ground. And in terms of best shoes for breathability, can't go wrong with head tennis or pickleball these days. They still have the breathing cages on the bottom end. They just breathe well in the uppers as well. The Motion Pro, as well, the BOA as well as the regular, they breathe fantastic. The Ubersonic 5 also has a pretty big breathe cage on the bottom. So really, if you're looking for breathability, make sure you're looking in the uppers. But if you can get something on the bottom of the shoe too to increase all that airflow when you're running back and forth, that's also going to be really nice. All right, that's it. My battery's got 7% left. I hope you enjoyed this. Hope this helped you make a more informed buying decision. If you want to check out any of my top 5 shoes that just come out, the ones that I think have kind of cut through all these to be the best of the year, I'll leave that video linked right here. And make sure you subscribe down below. Respect your rubber and foam, as well as my vocal cords. I'll see you somewhere in the sneakerverse.